What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, joined again this week with Allie and Will, doing our weekly New York Giants live stream as we go through the preseason here, getting ready for this game on Saturday afternoon against the Houston Texans, and also looking back on this past week for the Giants, which was a pretty hectic one. We had a scare with Malik Neighbors and a foot injury. He's fine. We had a scare with John Runyon Jr. and a shoulder injury. He's also fine. And then Tyrone Tracy Jr., seemingly done for the year, is also fine. So the Giants dodged some injury bullets, got really lucky this week. And honestly, it's been a trend throughout the offseason. They've had a lot of scares. And it seems like Evan Neal is the only one that's really severely been hindered by an injury. But now he's back on the football field. So is John Michael Schmitz. Good times for the Giants as we get ready for preseason week 2. So we're just going to go ahead and dive right in, talk about some of these top storylines, and preview the second preseason game and some of the players that we're keeping a close eye on. But before we dive into it, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, ring the bell, comment down below, and follow us on social media at Fireside Giants. Without further ado, Allie, how are you doing today?
I am feeling great. I went from wanting to jump off my roof earlier in the week from seeing the Neighbors injury to being not perfectly okay. I'm still kind of nervous about Neighbors. I'm not going to lie to you. I want them to bubble wrap him, but obviously that's not realistic. But other than that, I'm feeling okay. How about you, Will?
I can't lie. That Malik Neighbors injury report scared the crap out of me. I was caught off guard by a mile. And then Tyrone Tracy after that, just complete shock to me, but I'm doing much better knowing that Tyrone Tracy won't be out for the rest of the year and that it shouldn't be serious with Malik Neighbors. So I'm feeling much better, just like you, Allie.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement. One thing to note, Drew Lock done for the rest of the preseason, most likely dealing with that hip/oblique injury that he suffered in the first preseason game. You guys know what that means. Time for some cutlets. More Tommy DeVito for the rest of the preseason. He'll probably play a good 3 quarters on Saturday. He'll probably play a good 3 quarters in the upcoming third preseason game. We're going to see a lot of Tommy DeVito. I think he has a really solid chance to win the QB2 job over Drew Lock, as Drew Lock obviously suffers with this injury. It's going to cause him to fall back a little bit. Not the best preseason performance. This is Tommy DeVito's job to lose now. Before I hand it off to you, Alan, get your take on DeVito, I want to point out Marcus from Twitter is commenting in. This is our first time ever live streaming on both YouTube and Twitter at the same time, Twitter/X, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, Marcus, we have never done this. This is new. But thank you for joining us. Shout out to RSG NATO. Davey, Q-Dog, shout out to everybody in the chat. Appreciate you all joining us. But Allie, QB2 battle. It's open now. Drew Lock injured. Tommy DeVito getting some more playing time. How are you feeling?
In my eyes, it was never a QB battle. It was always going to be Tommy DeVito for me. Since last season, he was someone that I kept saying he needs to be QB2. Never a doubt in my mind. Obviously, how much did they pay Drew Lock? I think they paid him, $5 million when they signed him in free agency. Whatever it was, I knew that number was going to play a part. But now he's hurt. Like you said, Tommy DeVito's job to lose. I love watching him play football. He looks super confident. And I'm going to throw this out there. I might talk about Daniel Jones a little later. But back to Neighbors and everyone's saying, oh, who's going to throw him the ball? Can Daniel Jones stay healthy? Honestly, I don't care because I know if DeVito's on the field, he's going to throw the ball to Neighbors. He's going to throw it deep. He's going to be confident. And he's just going to play really good football. So it was never a battle for me. I feel like it was always going to be DeVito.
I'm right there with you. I think that everybody knows that I was always going to be pulling for Tommy DeVito as the QB2. I think that as a young quarterback in his first NFL season last year, going on that winning streak and stringing together some solid performances, it showed that there's potential there, whether as a long-term developmental piece into a competent backup or fringe starter, however you want to envision Tommy DeVito's future. But I do think he makes for a really solid QB2 this season for the Giants. Will, how are you feeling about this QB2 battle? What do you think about Drew Lock? And, of course, Tommy Cutlets.
I think he looked very good on last Saturday, I think it was. Can't remember.
Yes.
The week has been in a blender. He looked very good. With Drew Lock being out and DeVito going to get majority of the snap, am I potato mode still?
You're a total potato. You are a robot right now. Will is dealing with some
I don't know why I can't stop laughing. Okay.
Fair one. I'm really sorry for everyone watching and for you, Anthony, because everywhere in my house the Wi-Fi is very bad right now. So there is not. I have to use my phone hotspot to do the Wi-Fi, to do my own Wi-Fi, which is not good. But hopefully everyone can hear me. I think DeVito's going to have it locked up because he's going to be playing the rest of the preseason. I mean, Drew Lock isn't. Obviously, he's going to be out with an oblique injury. So DeVito has it locked up. He looked good. And honestly, I kind of had a fire reignited for him because I saw I think it was an edit to Smooth Criminal, and it just fired me up. So Tommy DeVito, I think he has it on lock. Did that go through?
Yes, we caught it. We got it all. Yep, we heard you. It might have sounded a little robotic, like Hal from 2001 Space Odyssey, but it's all good. We can hear you, and we are happy that you're here joining us. Hopefully your Wi-Fi improves as we go along. But yeah, no, I'm with you. Give me all the Tommy DeVito edits, whether it's Smooth Criminal, whether it's Papa Americano. I don't care. Give me all the Tommy DeVito edits on my social media feeds. Maybe we'll have to cook up a few for the Fireside Giants social media feeds, which you should all be following along with.
Why hasn't there been one?
There was one last week. There was a Tommy DeVito edit. In fact, I was in it, so just.
Oh, I saw that one. Okay.
Pretty good content. Fireside Giants. Everybody should be following. But anyway, talking more about this team, how about the offensive line? I thought they looked really good in that preseason game. Obviously, we haven't spoken since the preseason game. Again, a couple injury scares. John Michael Schmitz really missed the majority of training camp. Made it back just in time. He should be able to play this weekend if they want to put the starters out there. I think it'll be interesting to see whether or not he gets any reps. But Evan Neal now working in as a second string right tackle. I think this is a good conversation to have because last week we were discussing it and we were pretty much like, hey, that's what he is now. He's a backup. We don't view him as a potential starter. I want to see where we're kind of at on that because he was very humble in his press conference, his first time speaking to the media since going down with that injury in week 9 of last year. So we're getting a little bit more of a humble version of Evan Neal, who's willing to take on this backup role, said he'll play anywhere and in any role that the Giants give him. So maybe he gets tested out at guard at some point. I don't know. How are we feeling about this more humble version of Evan Neal? Do we think that this could be a potential turning point in his career, or do we think that this is just his career now is just going to be him as a backup?
I mean, I don't want to limit him and just say he's just a backup. I want to give the kid a benefit of the doubt. It's only his third year. It's obviously a really hard position. I don't want to blame it all on him. We already know Bobby Johnson is horrible at developing any kind of talent on that O-line. And I like the more humble approach because I remember last year the whole fan base was up in arms and he was calling everybody burger flippers and whatever. So I like that we're seeing a more humble version of him. I think maybe working with the twos, being a backup can help him, and then he could kind of work his way up from there. Now he doesn't have all the pressure of, oh, I'm starting. He doesn't have to deal with all the hate from the fans because you're the starting right tackle, you're getting killed, our quarterback is getting killed. Now it's okay, the responsibility is not mine anymore unless my number is called. So I think it could be good for him.
Yeah, I think the same thing. I think him being humble shows that he's improving at, not that he wasn't a good person before, but he's improving as a person and he's willing to take on any role that the Giants give him just to get some playing time. And I think that's awesome for him. I know that, he was a very highly touted prospect coming in, when we drafted him in 2021 and coming into the season, everyone looked at him to be this bookend right tackle with, alongside Andrew Thomas, and it didn't work out that way. But him saying that he's willing to take on any role that the Giants give him whenever he's called, he's going to do his best. So I think that's very good for him. And honestly, I'm kind of excited to see whenever he does get on the field this season. I hope to see him improve.
Yeah, and I think that he will see the field, and he might see the field a lot more than fans might expect because I don't think he's going to be a starter. Jermaine Oluminor is going to be the right tackle, and I doubt that he loses that job unless there's an injury. However, as a swing tackle, Evan Neal makes a lot of sense because swing tackles don't have to block in pass protection much. They pretty much just go out there and push forward in the running game. When you're talking 4th and 1, 3rd and 1, goal line situations, just putting Evan Neal's big 6'8", 350-pound self on the end of the offensive line and pushing forward, it's an ideal role for him. So at the very least, I think the Giants have actually upgraded in a key position there at swing tackle because last year they had Matt Parrott, who was always a good pass protector coming out of college and really struggled as a run blocker. So he never contributed well in that swing tackle role. But Evan Neal, being one of those kind of mauling offensive linemen who's had success not only in the collegiate level, but when he's had success in the NFL level, it's been as a run blocker. He might help a lot in those short yardage situations, converting those 3rd and 4th and shorts and goal line running plays. So I don't know. Maybe we do see improvement from Evan Neal. Maybe that's the way he gets back on the field, starts to play better. And who knows? Maybe one day he does get back into a starting role and maybe he takes it by the horns and runs with it. It's totally possible. I don't want to just completely count him out, but obviously my confidence in that happening is beneath the floor. I don't believe that he's going to turn it around like that, but I hope that he proves me wrong because he wears a Giants helmet. So let's go ahead. Let's chat about Tyrone Tracy Jr. Obviously, that was a scary situation. We've talked about it a couple times on the channel, so I won't give my take, but I'll let you guys get your take because we didn't get to talk about post-game. We talked pre-game how we were excited to see Tyrone Tracy Jr., and then during the preseason game, I mean, he looked like a stud. So did Eric Gray. Even Dante Miller looked really good. But Tracy, now going to miss the rest of the preseason. Big opportunity for Gray, big opportunity for Miller. And really just, I like the way Tyrone Tracy ran, and I'm so glad he avoided a big-time injury. Allie, how are you feeling about Tyrone Tracy and the rest of these running backs, whether that be Singletary or the guys behind them?
Well, I am a big Tyrone Tracy fan. I loved him in the preseason. I feel like obviously after that preseason game, all the talk was about Eric Gray. He had those big runs. You weren't expecting it. And I feel like Tyrone Tracy kind of went under the radar a little bit because he didn't have those big runs like Gray did. But I feel like the runs he did get were really good runs. He was getting me super excited. I was yelling at my TV like, yes, we have good running backs. I love our running back room just in general. I'm so happy that the injury isn't as serious as it was. Whenever you hear that an air cast is getting put on the leg, you already start to get those like, oh, is it an ACL? Look, they said it was non-contact at first, so you just think the worst. Happy it's not, but yeah, no, I love the running back room. Love Eric Gray. I know Turbo is dealing with a hamstring injury, and I am not a fan of hammies. That is like one of my least favorite injuries. So I don't know if that might hurt him a little bit or not during the season. I feel like right now, for the only sure things, it's Singletary and Tyrone Tracy, just because, well, no, and Eric Gray. But yeah, I don't know about Turbo. I don't like hammies, especially for a running back. That's just something to keep an eye on, I guess.
I can't lie, my audio just cut out, so it was so choppy, so I really didn't hear any of that. But no, the running backs,
Oh no.
all of them they ran hard, and I was watching the Yankee game actually that day, but I was watching it from my iPad, and the running back room should be very good this year for the however many we have in that rotation. But you have a guy like Singletary. I know he didn't play. I don't think he played, but hard runner. Tyrone Tracy, obviously a hard runner. Eric Gray, I mean, holy crap, he was unleashed. That game was, I was looking at that. I was like, wow, that's very big for Eric Gray. Obviously, I hope he gets a chance this year because I think we talked about him as being a potential cut. So I don't know. The running back room, I have a lot of optimism for them after the first preseason game. Hope to keep it up this Saturday, but they looked very good, and they all look like hard runners, so that's all that matters to me.
It was good for Gray too. But I feel like that potential was always there. We saw it a little bit last season. Like, I know he was barely on the field as a running back, but I feel like the very little runs he did have, you did see that little bit of explosiveness. So I wanted to see him more. Obviously, we had Saquon Barkley then, so Saquon's going to be on the field most of the time, and not to like pounce on Saquon and talk down on him, but I feel like Eric Gray may have had a little bit of more explosiveness in the runs he had last season and like the very limited snaps than Saquon did. But that's just my opinion. I feel like he should have been on the field a lot more than he was.
Yeah, and obviously having Matt Breida in front of him was hard too, but because he's played pretty well for the Giants. But yeah, I saw coming out of OU, I was pretty high on him. He was very good in college, and now he's being able to showcase it during the preseason. So I'm very happy for him. He's explosive, like we were talking about. So Eric Gray is going to get some touches this year and hopefully a good amount. And I think Giants fans should be very excited about him.
Yeah, and I liked him a lot coming out of Oklahoma. As you mentioned, he was a pretty good college runner. The thing that I really liked about him was his decisiveness as a runner. He was a very good one-cut back, and I think that's something that we saw in that preseason game where he would just get the ball. He only had the 4 carries, but on that long touchdown run, he pretty much made a one cut, found the hole, broke a tackle, and he was gone. And that's kind of what we saw from him at Oklahoma. And hopefully that can continue to be a trend because, Devin Singletary is going to be that workhorse back. He's going to get a ton of touches for the New York Giants, and he's going to keep just falling forward and touching the ball and running between the tackles. But when they need a change of pace and they need someone to be a one cut, break a tackle and go, I think that you've got Eric Gray for that now, which is excellent. And even Tyrone Tracy can do that. And the thing with Tyrone Tracy that really surprised me was his running between the tackles. I thought that he was going to be one of those players that the Giants try and get involved as a receiver and maybe on outside zone and let him get into space. They really ran him between the tackles on most plays, and he had so much power, and he was bouncing off of linebackers and safeties from the second level and just falling forward, which gave me a little bit of hope that long-term he can be more than just a running back too. He really can be a workhorse back in the future, and he doesn't have the same amount of mileage as other older rookies would because he only played running back for one season. So really like Tyrone Tracy. Super glad that he's healthy and okay, or not healthy, but he avoided the major injury scare, and really looking forward to seeing this running back room take shape this season, as I am with this defensive line and secondary. Secondary's young, has a lot of potential, a lot of question marks. Maybe we could talk about that next. Just dive into that secondary. Trey Hawkins III, that's a player that was a forgotten man throughout this offseason. Looked great in that first preseason game, only let up one reception for 7 yards. Posted a game-high 90.0 PFF grade as we're losing Will in real time. But I really liked what I saw from Trey Hawkins, and I think that he's one of those players who he won a starting job last year in the preseason. Perhaps he can do it again this summer if he continues to play well.
Yeah, for sure. I was on the Hawkins train last preseason, and then obviously I was like kind of disappointed when the season came, but it happens, young players, those little rookie growing pains. But I'm excited for him too. I honestly called me a bad person. I wasn't watching Trey Hawkins during the preseason game. I have no idea why I missed him. But
he had a nice pass breakup on the outside. He had 3 times he was targeted, and he only let up 1 reception. He made a quick tackle on it. So He looked really good. He was sharp, and what I liked about him was the physicality at the line of scrimmage. When they had him in coverage, he was playing press man, and he was sticking with guys.
Hawkins in the summer, man. Summer's his season.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully he can carry it into the regular season this time around. We all know that was not the trend last year. Looked really good in the summer and struggled during the regular season, but this time around, perhaps he bounces back. M. asks a good question here. Any word on Deontay Johnson? Deontay Johnson's dealing with, I believe, an ankle injury, sprain, and he should be ready for the start of the regular season, but that's not a guarantee. I don't know if we see him in another preseason game, which is really unfortunate for him because he was looking really good, like he could steal a roster spot, maybe even a starting spot, but it's a very competitive linebacker group. 6th-round rookie David Masua. You have this guy, Matthew Adams, that the Giants signed to a pretty much fully guaranteed 1-year deal. So Deontay Johnson, cost-effective move would be to cut him, but he's dealing with this injury, and he looked really good. So I'm hoping he's able to get back on the field ASAP, but he looked really good in that preseason game before he suffered that injury. So hoping that he can get back on the field ASAP.
He was everywhere in that preseason game. I feel like a lot of the big defensive plays, he was right in the middle of them. He was someone I was getting super excited about just watching. My thing is, what is with all the ankle injuries? I feel like everybody is coming out with minor ankle sprain, ankle injury, low ankle sprain. What is with all of these sprained ankles that are coming out of the Giants right now?
Yeah, why are there so many ankle injuries? What is going on? Is it the cleats? Is it the turf? Just is it the running from the preseason? Maybe that I have no clue. But yeah, what is up with all these ankle injuries?
Yeah,
I will say though, we can be really glad that there's no knee injuries, and I think that's a testament. Yeah. I get into battles all the time on social media and on this channel when we do these live streams. People love to complain about the MetLife turf. And I just point to the statistics and I say that last year, the MetLife turf was one of the safest playing grounds in the NFL. The Giants suffered 1 regular season torn ACL. It was Daniel Jones, and it happened in Las Vegas. So the MetLife turf is actually very good now. I think that's really important to highlight because, 2 years ago, everybody was tearing Achilles and knees on that thing left and right. So many injuries. But now they have this like blend of AstroTurf, and it's more like a regular playing surface. And it's been great. I mean, last regular season, like I said, very insignificant number of injuries suffered on that turf. And as Gavin Graber is saying right now, they do practice on grass at Quest Diagnostic Center, their training facility. So that also helps them stay healthy, but pretty good stuff. I don't even remember there being any non-contact injuries in that game against Detroit at MetLife. Maybe there was one. I know there was a Lions player got hurt. I can't remember if it was contact or not, but yeah, actually it was contact. He got rolled on. So MetLife Turf, I'm going to give it credit, even though people don't like to hear it. It's been doing a good job the past year or so.
That's true. It has. I'll give you that. I feel like it's just easy when you deal with the same thing over and over again and you deal with injuries. It's like, oh, it's the turf. Like, that's just like the easy thing to blame. But it's like, it's not the turf now. Like, now you got to come up with something else.
I remember when – oh, sorry, Anthony.
I was just going to say, and also on top of that, all of these injuries that the Giants have had so far have been minor injuries, and I think we also should give credit to the training staff for making the changes that they made this summer. A lot of injuries last year. They talked a lot earlier in the summer about how they were going to change the training schedule and regimen to make sure that players are staying healthier and getting off to a hotter start at the regular season. So I think credit is due for the turf and for those who are training the players to play on the turf. So some good stuff right now for the Giants, and just hoping this isn't a fluke and that it continues all throughout the season.
I remember when Sterling Shepard tore his ACL non-contact. Ryan Connolly, who I was actually really high on, I think it was the 2019 season. He had a non-contact injury on MetLife Turf. I think Nick Bosa did as well. I think it was against us a couple years ago. So I'm glad that they changed that turf. And like you said, the medical staff doing a good job so far this summer. So, and like Gavin said, in the past it's been atrocious. And I know we talked about that last Wednesday. So seeing how obviously there are going to be some injuries in training camp and in preseason, but the fact that they are minor and aren't very serious, it gives me hope for the regular season.
I just have trust issues at this point. I feel like I'm so used to it being bad. And I just go back to the PTSD of like all the misdiagnosing, all like people being cleared to play when they really weren't cleared to play. So now I'm like, I'm trusting you, training staff. Do not let me down. Do not make me angry. Like, do not lie to me. But I still have some trust issues with them. But I'm hoping everything is okay. And that everything is what they say it is. Because I feel like they lie a lot to the media when it comes to injuries. So you never actually know for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. Being an NHL fan, that's how it is in that league. You literally do not know how long players are going to be out. You do not know what they even have. It's just classified as lower body or upper body injury. So I guess I'm kind of used to it from that. But seeing how the Giants, they're not serious injuries. It does make it. It does help me a little bit be optimistic for the season, but like you said, the trust issues are big with this Giants medical staff in the
for
past
sure.
couple of years. So maybe I should tone down my optimism a little bit.
Well, speaking of injuries, let's talk about a pretty brutal one that happened today in the NFL that impacts the New York Giants in Week 1 versus the Minnesota Vikings. J.J. McCarthy, meniscus surgery, done for the year. On top of that, the Vikings had 2 wide receivers go down today. Jordan Addison carted off. They said it's probably not significant, but he might be banged up. Maybe he doesn't play Week 1. Maybe if he does, he's not at 100% strength. Again, you don't ever want to root for injuries, and this isn't something to be like happy about, but it is worth noting that the Giants could be going towards this Week 1 matchup with a lot more of a winning mentality. Like they might have an easier matchup than they initially anticipated because no, the Vikings aren't like the best team in the world, but McCarthy looked good in that first preseason game. Sometimes we know rookie quarterbacks, you don't have a lot of film on them. They come out of the gate firing and they're a little bit tough to beat in weeks 1 and 2. Things like that happen. And also those playmakers for the Vikings are legit. But I can say that I rest easier at night knowing that it's Sam Darnold throwing the ball to those playmakers. No disrespect to Sam Darnold. I think that he's in a great situation here, throwing to Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, and being coached by Kevin O'Connell. Maybe he has the late career bloom like a Geno Smith. It's totally possible. However, he is a quarterback that's known to struggle under pressure. This Vikings offensive line has its weaknesses. This Giants defensive line is the strength of this team. So knowing that the Giants are going to be going up against Darnold in week 1 with Burns, Lawrence, and Thibodeau pass rushing does make me a little bit excited, does tell me that the Giants might have a more winnable week 1 matchup than I initially anticipated. So, Allie, I'm sure that you have a lot to say on that. I know you follow the Vikings pretty closely because you're a big fan of a lot of those players, but I'm wondering if you agree with me that in light of this recent news and looking ahead at this matchup where it's going to be Darnold versus this defensive line, this does feel a little bit more winnable for the Giants than it initially did.
It definitely does feel more winnable. What I will say is I don't want to sleep on Sam Darnold. I feel like he's not as bad as like some media or some fans make him out to be. Like I get his run with the Jets wasn't the best, but the Jets are also the Jets. Like they were really bad. They didn't do anything to help him. I thought he was okay when he was on the Panthers. Like I don't think he's a bad quarterback. I think his experience going up against our D-line could maybe help him a little bit. You still have Jay Jettis, even a banged up Jordan Addison. It's like he's still Jordan Addison. Like those playmakers are still very much there. So I don't want to go in saying, oh, we can 100% win it. Darnold is a scrub. He sucks. Like don't sleep on him. That's all I'm going to say. But the strength of our team is our defense. I also know the Vikings defense is they have a weaker secondary. I trust Neighbors to cook them. I trust Hyatt to cook them. But I don't know. Sam Darnold could have like a little comeback game. I remember when it was Broncos versus Seattle, Russell Wilson versus Geno Smith. Nobody expected Geno Smith to pop off the way he did against the Broncos, and it happened. So it could be a little trap game. So I feel like the Giants still need to go in there ready to play a really good game. I don't feel like the Giants or fans should go into that matchup super cocky, like, oh, we're going to win. Like anything can happen. It's the NFL. But we'll see.
Yeah, I agree with that. I thought Darnold had a pretty good run with the 49ers when he had to step up and be their starting quarterback. I think it was 2 weeks last year. He looked pretty good. And, they have Jay Jettis and TJ Hawkinson. So without Jordan Addison, you can, well, if he doesn't play, I know he got injured or had something happen to him during camp today or yesterday. I can't remember. But now you can divert your attention to Jay Jettis and Hawkinson. It's a little easier because obviously Jordan Addison is a threat, dynamic wide receiver. I actually really liked him, wanted us to draft him, but was happy with Banks. But now you can divert your focus on those two instead of having all three. So, and our D-line, obviously our strong suit of the defense. So hopefully that causes some problems for Sam Darnold, but I wouldn't sleep on him. I know, like Ali said, his time with the Jets was very rough, but that's the Jets. They really didn't do a lot to build a team around him. I think they kind of set him up for failure, but he looked good. He looked somewhat decent with the Panthers and looked pretty good with the 49ers. So I wouldn't sleep on Sam Darnold either.
Yeah, not to say that I'm sleeping on him necessarily. Like I said, I think that the comeback is always possible, and he's in a really good situation right now. I think that the number one thing, I don't think Hawkinson's going to play week 1.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he's dealing with a better group of playmakers than he had with the Jets. But the number one thing is that he's being coached by Kevin O'Connell, and he just spent a year being coached by Kyle Shanahan, 2 of the best quarterback coaches in the NFL. So we can absolutely see a turnaround for Sam Darnold. I'm not going to put it past him. But if you're just basing things off of history, he struggles under pressure. Giants have a good defensive line. I'm liking our chances week 1. And we know that after last year, the week 1 disaster that we saw versus the Cowboys, getting off to a good start this season will be paramount, even though we're going to be wearing those super ugly century red uniforms during that game, which I am not looking forward to seeing. Someone asked about Malik Neighbors in the chat a little while ago. Here we are. Gavin's asking, what do we think about Malik not settling on a number? He wants his jersey. I don't blame you. I was actually talking about that earlier today. I'm thinking the same thing. I think he's going with number 88, maybe number 18 if Hodgins gets cut. I don't think that's super likely, but hoping to get that sorted out soon.
I think 88 too. There's not really a lot of numbers for him to choose from. And then when you watch him with Kay Adams, he just seemed like super indecisive. He said he still doesn't know. She asked him about buying 13. He said no. Like, asked about maybe trying to get 8 from Danny, he said no. Like, he just doesn't seem like he knows, and there's not a lot of numbers to choose from. As you know, we have so many retired numbers for, I guess, no reason, but there's 88, I think, is the best option for him. I don't see Hodgins getting cut. That's just my opinion, though. But
I think 88 would look sick on Neighbors. Like, who was the? I mean, I guess who.
We had
the
Hakeem
last
Nicks
number,
wear 88, no?
Yeah, that was the last one I can think of is Hakeem Nicks, and he was a beast. I loved him. So 88, that'd be a sick number for Malik Neighbors. Double A, obviously CD Lamb rocks 88 because of Dez Bryant and Michael Irvin. I know they forced him to wear that, but 88's a sick receiver number, and if he picks that, I would 100% buy that jersey. Easy. Actually, maybe not, because then he might change, but I don't know.
That's another thing. I have PTSD with Banks. I bought the 2.5, and he absolutely hates the number 25, and then he changed it like the same day my jersey came in the mail. So I feel like I have to wait. Also, we don't know. We like to stay optimistic. Daniel Jones isn't the quarterback. 8 becomes available. Does Neighbors take 8 and change to 8 next year? So I feel like I would wait until next year.
But like I said, it's almost like having a Kobe number 8 jersey and a Kobe number 24 jersey, you know? It's cool to have both, I think. So I'll take a Neighbors 88 and they'll take a Neighbors 8. I'm with both of it. But Daniel Jones, you just mentioned him. You also mentioned Kay Adams, his girlfriend, seemingly. That's speculation on social media. Apparently they're in love.
Cute.
How are we feeling? Daniel Jones is going to be playing on Saturday. Thank the Lord. I think he should have been playing last week as well. I have a bone to pick with Brian Dable for not putting Daniel Jones, the biggest question mark out of any quarterback in the NFL who's starting in week 1 this year is Daniel Jones. I think he absolutely should have been out there week 1 of the preseason. Mahomes, Stroud, Allen, all of them, they played. Jordan Love, everybody played, but not Daniel Jones. Apparently, he's too good to play in week 1 of preseason. I know I'm probably blowing it out of proportion and overreacting, but I think he should play a significant amount this upcoming weekend. He needs to be ready. He was so slow out of the gate last year. I mean, talk about rust in week 1. Daniel Jones's week 1 performance last year was disgusting. We all know that. We can all recognize that. Yes, the offensive line was terrible. Andrew Thomas got hurt. There was so much wrong with that team. I understand. There were also plays where Daniel Jones was, how about that pick that he threw to Stephon Gilmore where he was running out of bounds and just threw it into the middle of the field? That's rust. That's because he didn't play in the preseason. How about he misread the coverage on the left side? Kill shot to Saquon Barkley, ball pops up, pick 6. Again, rust. He just wasn't reading defenses enough because he didn't play in the preseason. Daniel Jones needs to play a significant amount in this preseason game, in my opinion. I think that the knee, if he is fully healthy, medically cleared, it can't be an excuse for him not to play in the preseason. He can get hurt in a preseason game, get hurt at a scrimmage, he can get hurt in the regular season, but he needs those reps. He needs to knock off that rust because he hasn't played football since November in a real game setting. I think this is really important for him to play. I would put him out there for at least the full first quarter.
I can agree. We only saw like 1 drive from them last year, and clearly that wasn't enough. And I think not only from like a physical rust standpoint, I mentioned this to you when we spoke about it. I want to see how he is mentally. I feel like it's one thing to be confident when nobody can touch you in practice and you're like throwing a team and it's like super lighthearted, but it's another thing when you're playing a different team and now you can be touched, now you can be sacked. I want to see if the trust actually is there with his own line, if the trust actually is there with the receivers, and I want to see if he does get hit, if he goes back to being just a shell-shocked quarterback, because that's what we saw last season. We saw a scared quarterback in the pocket. We saw a quarterback who literally just didn't trust anybody around him. And it's like, did he get any of that confidence back? That's what I want to see too. So it's like, can you physically play really good football? And can you mentally play really good football? So you need to play that first quarter.
Yeah, I agree with that. I want to see how his mentality is doing. Obviously, after last year, didn't start off very well, then got injured once, then tore his ACL this first came back. So I want to see how he is when he's getting hit and he has pressure around him. I do want to see him play the entire first quarter on Saturday. Give him some live game throws in, stuff like that. See how his reads are. So yeah.
Yep. It's also important for him to get, used to reading defenses in a game setting again, like you just said, Will, and also getting his timing down with his receivers because he hasn't thrown in a game setting with Malik Neighbors ever. So hopefully we get Malik Neighbors out there on Saturday. I'm not sure if he's going to be healthy enough to play. We haven't really gotten an update on that, but Even without Neighbors, I want to see him throw the ball to Wandale, get him going, get his timing down with Jalen Hyatt, who's going to be playing a larger role this season. All of it. I just want to see Daniel Jones play and start to practice those game settings so he can be ready to roll in week 1. Here's an interesting question from Warwick. Can we use Elijah Chapman as a rare scenario fullback? One of you needs to help me. The Giants used to have a defensive tackle that would also play fullback. He was sick. I remember he had a first down on a 4th and short and a sack in the same game. I can't remember his name, but he was cool. And I would love for Elijah Chapman to bring that back.
You know what year it was?
Let me Google.
It was like 2017. It was one of the years that the Giants were like unwatchable. But
Elijah Penny?
No, he was just a fullback. Shout out to Elijah Penny. He wasn't bad. He was not a bad player. This guy who played back and forth, both sides of the ball. Can't remember his name, but maybe Elijah Chapman does that. Elijah Chapman, defensive tackle, had a sack in the first preseason game. That was huge because when
Nikita
we were previewing
Whitlock?
that game, yeah, that might be it.
Oh, Nikita Whitlock. Oh my goodness. Wow.
That's a crazy pull.
Yeah.
When we were previewing last week's preseason game, we did talk about that DT2 job and how it's wide open and any of these young players could step up and take it. Elijah Chapman did himself a lot of favors last week. He had a sack. He led the team with 4 total pressures, or maybe 5 total pressures and 4 hurries is what it was. He was all over the place. He was making plays. He's a little bit undersized, but he's fast and athletic for a defensive tackle, which is why he might be able to play some fullback. But yeah, I'm really liking what I'm seeing from Elijah Chapman so far, and I think that he actually could compete for that starting job.
Bring back the fullbacks, man. I love me some fullbacks. Like Kyle Juszczyk on the Niners. I love that, man. Like, what happened? We need to bring them back.
I 100% agree. Someone mentioned Jeffrey Wheeler mentioned Henry Hynoski. For the past 2 weeks, I have been nonstop talking about the Hynoceros. Love that guy. I cried when he left to go to the Lions and then didn't make the team out of preseason. But Henry Hynoski was a beast. I loved that guy growing up as a kid. You had Hynoski. You had 3 powerful runners, Jacobs, Bradshaw, and Hynoski. I think fullbacks, you can exploit. I mean, I know the Ravens do and the 49ers, obviously, Kyle Juszczyk. But a fullback can be very, very versatile for a team. And I know our O-line coach, I'm blanking on his name and I can't pronounce it, so I'm not going to. But
yes.
Yeah, Bristol. I thought it was Bristilo for some reason. So Bristilo, I know he likes using the fullback. I'd love to see that back in the Giants' offensive scheme. And I know my dad, for some reason, he's an older football fan, but he loves the fullback. I would love to see him excited for a fullback. So I would love to see Carmen Bristilo put a fullback in our offense.
Yeah, a couple of things that you mentioned there. Obviously, you pointed to the Ravens and the 49ers. Gavin in the chat just pointed to the Dolphins. These are all the best rushing attacks in the NFL that we're talking about, and all of them have the common denominator of utilizing a fullback. The Giants didn't sign a fullback this offseason, which was surprising to me because of what you said, Will. Carmen Bristilo, during his time with the Las Vegas Raiders, had a great run-blocking scheme, relied heavily on a fullback. So I was very surprised that the Giants didn't sign a fullback, that they don't seem to be planning on utilizing one this season. I think Daniel Bellinger has played fullback for them in that role as their tight end before, and he'll probably continue to do that. But I would like to see this team consider bringing in a fullback. It's just Brian Daboll's playbook has never utilized one before. But who knows? Maybe this season, Carmen Bristilo tells him, like, hey, on the waiver wire, just pick up anybody, make them learn the blocking scheme, and let them go out there. So I'd like to see it happen. I think that it's a really good idea and good points brought up by both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're so welcome, everybody.
I don't know. For some reason, I'm just obsessed with fullbacks. I don't know why. I think they're sick, and I think not that the Giants' offensive line is bad now. It's very improved, but it's an extra blocker for the running back. So now you're not just running into the offensive line. Now you have someone that can get up to the second level for you. That's your lead blocker. So I think I know you mentioned that Brian Daboll's playbook doesn't have a fullback in it, but I think that they are starting to become very valuable in the NFL again. Obviously, we talked about the 49ers, Ravens, and the Dolphins and they're some of the best rushing attacks. So I definitely think the Giants should think about Brian Dable should think about bringing a fullback into this offensive
For
scheme.
sure.
Maybe it's Bellinger. Who knows? Maybe you put Theo Johnson there. Who knows?
What?
I don't know about that one.
I don't know.
I know where
Look
my
at that.
obsession with the fullback started though. Little Giants Icebox. She was a fullback.
For sure.
Come on.
I do have to highlight this comment though. Orleans Darkwa,
Ooh.
2017 legend. I don't know if you guys remember Orleans Darkwa. I might be the only person in the world who owns a piece of Orleans Darkwa merch. All right, that was 26 before Saquon Barkley came to town and ruined the number 26. I had a 26 Orleans Darkwa long sleeve T-shirt because I was such a fan of his
Fire.
during the 2017 season. I think I'm the only person in the world that has a shirt with a Darkwa on the back that's probably not related to Orleans Darkwa. So I'm the number one Orleans Darkwa fan in the Giants community and the fan base. It's me. Bring him back. I don't care how old he is, how washed up he is, how out of shape he is. I want him on this roster right now. I love Orleans Darkwa. But
You
I
might
remember
also be
hearing
the only
some of the dark
person to own a
names.
Joe Judge jersey as well.
I definitely am, and that thing is in the garbage. So goodbye. Yeah. So good question here from John. Will the Giants regret not drafting any offensive linemen? I don't think that they will. And my rationale here is playmaker over offensive line always should have been the move in the first round. That's the way that they went. That was a good decision. And then taking a look into those middle rounds, they addressed a lot of positions of very important need. Slot cornerback with Drew Phillips. They targeted linebacker in the 6th round. They needed depth there. Obviously, Tyler Nubin at safety, Theo Johnson at tight end. Tyrone Tracy already looks like he's going to play a big role in the offense at running back. They targeted all of their positions of need. They filled them out, and they did a lot of work on the offensive line in free agency. They picked up Jermaine Illuminor. They picked up John Runyon Jr., and a couple of other signings that they made, one of which, Aaron Stinney. That one flew under the radar. He's a starter. Like, he's not a good starter, but he started across the league many times in many games, and he can start for the Giants if they need him to. Plus, they still have Azita, who they want to develop, and they have McKethan. So they signed a lot of free agent offensive linemen. They brought a bunch in, and they still have some young players that they just need to start developing better. Really, what they got to be banking on is that Carmen Bristolow gets it right. He was the right hiring for a coach. Yeah, the Giants were the only team in the NFL that didn't draft an offensive or defensive lineman. That's a wild stat. I think the bigger regret will be that they didn't draft a defensive lineman over an offensive lineman because they did plenty of work there through free agency.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of drafting O-line anyway. I feel like they invested a lot into the O-line in drafts. Like in past years, you have those young guys. Clearly, they weren't that good at developing it. So I said they had to start throwing the bag at veteran offensive linemen at that point. Like, you know, you're weak at developing these guys. You just need to get some average veteran people in there that could be okay, that could be good, and could also help out those younger guys. And I think that's exactly what they did. There's so many offensive linemen they've drafted, so there was no point for them to go offensive line in this draft. That's just how I felt.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, they drafted so many offensive line these past, not even past couple years, and like Gavin said, the last 10 years. At some point, you got to look, hey, we can't develop these guys. Let's just go for a veteran who's established in the league, which is perfect. They did that in free agency, and I do agree with you, Anthony. I do think that they will regret not drafting a D lineman more than not drafting an offensive lineman this year.
Yeah, in agreement on that one. We've been in agreement on that today. Not much room for debate, but I think that's a good thing. Giants are moving in a positive direction that the whole fan base is rocking with. This weekend is going to be a fun one for me. I'm actually not going to be able to cover the Giants game for the first time in a long time. Going to be at Fanatics Fest. So is Allie. It's going to be a lot of fun. Stay tuned to social media because we're going to be there. Hopefully interviewing some players at the very least. We're going to be making content with one another. Ryan from Fireside Yankees as well. Go check out Fireside Yankees if you're a fan of the Pinstripes. So we're going to be having a lot of fun this weekend, making a lot of different content on our social media. So make sure to go ahead and check that out. Will, I'm sorry you can't make it with us.
Yeah,
I'll tell Henrik Lundqvist you said what's up.
Thank you. I'm very jealous that the both of you are going. I have another friend that's going, and he is meeting Hank. Got a stick for him to sign. I'm super jealous. I know there's going to be sports cards there. I'm a huge card collector. I am so jealous.
Are you actually?
Yeah.
I'm about to plug myself in. You know, I sell sports cards, right?
Do you?
I do.
All right, yeah, I have my little collection sitting in there. I've tried doing some rainbows with baseball cards, but I'm a huge baseball fan. Well, baseball card collecting fan. Hockey, not really football as much
I'm
anymore, but
football. Such a
I
football
am
girl.
very jealous that you guys are going to be there. I am not happy right now.
You know who else is going to be there? Matt Rempe. Can you believe it? I'll tell him you said what's up.
Yes.
Well, if I get to
Go.
talk
Thank
to
you.
him, I'll
Yes,
tell Rempe
please
to say,
tell him.
hey.
Tell him that I love his
Any-
content with Coach Chippy.
Yeah. Any
Love
Rangers
his
player I
content.
meet, I'm going to say, hey, go follow at Will M. Cohen on Twitter. He loves baseball. It's hard. But
Yeah, this guy's
anyway,
really
flipping
cool.
back to the Giants for these final 10 or so minutes of the live stream before we have to wrap it up. What else is standing out to you guys? Come on, fire some topics my way. Who do you want to talk about?
Tyler Nubin. Oh my Lord, did he look good during that preseason game? Put an offensive lineman on the turf, made him eat the pellets. That was awesome. I don't know what it is, but the Giants have so much success drafting second round safeties. Landon Collins, Xavier McKinney, and now Tyler Nubin. I don't know. They have very good luck with that, and he looked very good in that first preseason game. I'm very excited to see how he continues on this Saturday.
Oh, for sure. I feel like we kind of covered my guys from the first preseason, and then second preseason, all my eyes are going to be on Daniel Jones. I feel like he's like my biggest question mark at this point. So,
yeah,
I don't know.
I want to see Malik Neighbors get the ball thrown to him. He was open a lot.
I have to pull up this quote that I put out on Fireside Giants from Tyler Nubin. I'm not going to read it out loud, but
I'll read it out loud.
Go do it.
I'm always ready to stick my nose in there and get dirty with the big guys. Yes, sir.
Yes. We love to see it. We love it.
That's a dog mentality right there from Tyler Nubin. I mean, he's a rookie. I'm going to run to a brick wall for this guy.
It's a mentality.
Hands too. So it's like, F it. That's the thing. A lot of our young guys, it's like they're scrappy. And I love it. Like, I know there's people that are like, this is football. You're not supposed to do that. I don't care. Talk your stuff. Get some people angry. It genuinely, it ignites something in me when I see, them, flex on somebody else. If I see them, throw someone in the dirt. Even when I see people, just fight each other, I'm like, yes, go out there, get their ass. That's how I feel. And I feel like that's how all of our young guys make me feel.
Wall seeing that thing. I just want to find somewhere and just start pounding the wall, just break my hands. I'm like, damn, it gets me fired up. I can't lie.
I mean, that's how I felt about Jalen Hyatt. Jalen Hyatt said he's hungry week 1 for that touchdown, never went a season without scoring any touchdowns. So I saw that. I got hyped. Yes, be hungry, be ready to redeem yourself. I am here for it. Love Jalen Hyatt. So much potential there for him. The no touchdowns was not his fault. The offense was so bad. But if he's hungry, I'm hungry. I'm ready. First Jalen Hyatt touchdown is going to hit like crack. I'm ready. I've been waiting for it forever.
I want to be fed. I want to be fed that on a silver spoon on a gold platter.
Literally. Oh my gosh.
Excited,
if we're on the topic of food, you know who else had a food quote? Well, it wasn't necessarily about him. Let's talk about some Pinnock here. Jason Pinnock.
What's the food correlation here?
Oh my god, am I
memory.
Mixing up names? Hold on. I could be. My memory is bad. No, it's not him. Wait. Give me a second.
I don't know the food reference, so jog my memory and I'll probably know.
I don't think it's Pinnock. It's I think it's my guy
talking
McLeod.
About bag of chips? You're talking about chips?
Yes,
is that it?
McLeod.
Yes, I'll pull that quote up now as well. Got all the graphics here on Fireside Giants. Go follow.
Yeah,
all
my little brain fog showed there. Everybody merges into the same person, and I try to figure out okay, wait.
Jerome Henderson had this to say about Nick McLeod. If you know Nick McLeod, he carries a chip, a whole bag of them around all the time.
Love it.
Bag of chip on his shoulders. And he's hungry.
Love to see the story of undrafted guys go to potentially have a role to be a game changer. He's stepping up as a leader, which is important. There's a lot of young voices in the locker room, not a lot of like older, like vet voices there. He's that. So excited for him to have the opportunity for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited to have that opportunity too. One thing I want to say about that picture, that Rydell Axiom he's wearing, not a fan. I'm a big equipment guy, not a fan of that helmet. Put him back in the Speed Flex, please. I'm begging you. Whoever the Giants equipment manager is, if you're watching this, please put him back in the Speed Flex and not an Axiom. I'm begging you.
I'm going to act like I know what any of that means.
Yeah, helmets. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Anybody have thoughts on this RSG NATO comment? Shout out to NATO. He's here all the time. Appreciate it. But
I've been seeing that everywhere. Even my dad's like coming up to me like, Drake May looks horrible. Milton is stealing the job. And it's like, I like Drake May. I haven't been keeping up with anything of the Patriots. I wasn't able to watch them in the preseason. So I don't know exactly what everyone is referring to. But I'm finding it really hard to believe that Drake May looks awful and horrible.
I'm not even going to speak on Drake May. I'm going to speak on Joe Milton and just say he is running around in circles for 12-yard scrambles in a preseason game versus vanilla defenses. He's not reading a real NFL defense yet. They don't put their real schemes out on the preseason field. So that's why you always take it with a grain of salt. As impressed as I was with J.J. McCarthy, his decisiveness and his accuracy downfield in that first preseason game, he was facing base shell, undisguised cover 2. He knew exactly what he was throwing against. That's how it goes in the preseason. You know what the coverage is, and you make the throw. That's why when players struggle in the preseason really badly, that's more concerning than it is exciting for a player to be doing well in the preseason. So I'm not concerned about Drake May. Joe Milton, he's facing vanilla defenses. Drake May is not going to end up on the New York Giants, unfortunately. We're going to have to let that dream die and get ready for Carson Beck or Dak Prescott season.
Oh, Dak Prescott.
We're not going to talk about it.
That's an interesting one.
Someone mentioned it in the chat. But unfortunately, I don't have the mental headspace to dive into that in these final 4 minutes of the stream. So next stream, I got you.
Next stream, Dak on the New York Giants. How is that going to look?
We're not going to talk about that.
I was really hoping that
you got so excited.
Yeah, I thought you were going to cave in.
You're so excited.
Not caving. Nope. Real ones already know my take. I've given it on social media, but we're not discussing that in these final 4 minutes. What are we discussing? Fire out any last-minute topics before we wrap this thing.
Oh, my gosh. I feel like I'm stuck. Are we all stuck? Do we just run out of stuff to talk about?
Yeah, I feel like I'm stuck right now. We could talk about Andrew Thomas. I could talk about him all day.
Talk about Andrew Thomas. Let's do it.
God,
hell yeah.
That dude, absolute straight dog. He's going to be an all-pro this year. I know he was injured in week 1 last year on a field goal block. Really made me mad. Andrew Thomas is my favorite player. I'm so excited to see him out on the field and see him with this new offensive line, see him with the new, guard combo. Guy's probably going to just go out and be a dog again. Bookend left tackle. I love that guy. I'm so excited to see him play. Do you think he plays on Saturday? Just a couple snaps, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. I think all of the starters are going to play. I don't know how much each of them are going to play. But I would imagine that Thomas and Jones are tethered. Yeah. I don't think that they put Daniel Jones out there without Andrew Thomas, and I don't think that they have Andrew Thomas play more than 2 drives. Therefore, we're probably not going to see Daniel Jones play more than 2 drives, even though I think that's a really, really poor decision. So, I see the rationale behind not wanting to expose Daniel Jones to a backup offensive tackle, because whenever that happens, he holds onto the ball too long, he takes a sack, he gets hurt. So
I'm nervous if Neighbors plays. I'm not going to lie to you. I know, the report of him being injured came out earlier, but I feel like he's been dealing with something in his ankle for a while. Because even when I was at training camp, there was the thing where it's he seemed hurt. He's something happened. He ran off and then came back in. So it's I don't actually know if the injury is a lot more than what they're saying it is, or if it's bothering him a lot more than they're saying it is. That's just something that I don't know. And I will literally punch my TV if we put Neighbors out there and he's not 100%, which the Giants have a habit of doing. Like, even if the guys aren't 100%, it's like, oh, you could play. Go ahead, play whatever, a drive or two, and then that would be the drive that something terrible happens. Neighbors gets hurt in preseason because he's not 100% ready to play. I'm punching my TV. I'm telling you right now. So that's just a little something that I'm nervous about. Like, he's been banged up. It's not like, yeah, they're minor, but he's banged up. He also had like an arm thing one practice. He had the ankle, so it's like, I don't know.
His foot got stepped on. I think he's okay.
I'm nervous.
Listen, if he gets hurt in the preseason, obviously you're pissed off, but he's a rookie and he needs the reps is how I feel about it. So if he is healthy, they got to put him out there. And I also think not only because he's a rookie and needs reps, honestly, arguably he doesn't because he's that good and talented, but it's more of a seniority thing and a respect thing. Because he's a rookie, he does not deserve days off because the veterans don't get the days off. You know, like Dexter Lawrence has earned the days off and he's probably going to suit up on Saturday. Malik Neighbors is not above Dexter Lawrence. So that's kind of the way that I feel that. I think it's more of a locker room balance thing.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
That makes total sense.
I'm just nervous.
Yeah.
I'm nervous too, but it's football, man. Anybody can get hurt any day. Like, Neighbors can go into practice tomorrow in theory and get injured, you know?
I know. My sanity is on the line here, though.
Any of these guys can go into practice, get injured. Any of them go into preseason, regular season. But at the end of the day, they got to do their job. They got to play in the preseason. They got to keep themselves healthy, protect their bodies. It's just, you know, they got to play.
Yeah, he has to play. Get some reps.
I mean, they definitely do. And like, obviously, like they're still like learning each other. Every rep is important. Practice is important. I just don't want to go and get blown out week 1 again. But I also don't want to lose, like, arguably, like the guy who's gonna ignite our offense. Like, he plays such an important role in that offense that I feel like with him out of it, the offense looks a lot different. I just don't want to see that.
I agree with that. I 100% agree with that.
He could score 1 touchdown and then that's it. Like,
I just
score
don't.
A touchdown.
I don't want anything to happen to him. I know I want to put him in bubble rep, but like you said, Anthony, he's a rookie. He needs to get his reps in during preseason games, get some live game reps. But please,
maybe he'll actually get the ball. That'll be fun.
How many times was he open last Saturday?
He was open several times, and I just think that, you know, because Daniel Jones will be in the lineup, he probably calls an audible and calls a play and just throws Neighbors a screen, lets him run for 5 yards, and then Neighbors probably doesn't need to play much more after that. So, you know, that's just what I'm looking for. But he's got to go out there. He's got to get hazed. He's a rookie. He's got to go out there, and he's got to get made fun of, and he's got to play in the preseason. That's how it is. You know, I'm sure we've all seen the Hard Knock videos with Caleb and Romo Dunze doing karaoke. I'm sure that the Giants did something similar in their locker room. And again, part of that is the rookies got to play in the preseason, whether they're established starters already or not. They got to earn it anyway. It's like how a couple of years ago when new coaches, Brian Dable came in, like obviously Saquon Barkley was a starter, but he still had to earn the starting job anyway. You know, it's the same mentality with these rookies, especially the rookies. So that's how I'm feeling about it. But I'm ready for the weekend. Fanatics Fest.
Yes, me too.
Giants football. It's only Wednesday. It's hump day. Still got a few more days till the weekend. I'm catching a flight tomorrow. New York City. Here I come. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm so excited for Fanatics Fest. I'm ready. Like,
yeah, I'm so excited too.
I'm going to be in freaking sports card heaven. Oh my gosh.
Actually, anybody's going to be there, hit us up on social media. Hit up Allie and I on social media. Do some fan meetups. Love to talk to the Fireside Giants audience at Fanatics Fest.
Yes.
Let us know.
Love to chat Giants.
I can't wait for the content to come out of that. That's going to be awesome. I'm actually not jealous anymore because I still get content, so I'm fine with that. I'm still jealous, but like I know I just said I wasn't, but I get content. I'm going to get good content out of it, so I'm very excited.
Great content.
Yeah.
No doubt. All the great content is delivered to you right here on Fireside Giants. So make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this episode. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, and comment your thoughts down below in the comment section. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Go ahead and follow us on all our social media channels at Fireside Giants. Without further ado, we'll catch you all on the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Giants.